We cover on this channel quite the bit of breaking Genshin Impact, whether it be getting to places we're not supposed to, or testing how the game reacts by doing something as complex as dropping Child off the map in the Golden House. We've tried a lot. But what about when the game breaks itself? I'm certain we've all had our fair share of odd encounters where things didn't go as expected. After all, Teyvat has its own laws. While I've yet to be graced by wonderful loading glitches, I have run into some rather peculiar enemies. Today, we're taking a look at these, and we may as well begin with one of the game's first mini-bosses, Eye of the Storm. During the Mondstadt Archon quest, Venti asks us to meet him at the symbol of Mondstadt, which is this giant tree at Windrise. Once here, he tells us that some are not too happy about his return, referring to an Eye of the Storm that has appeared. It normally attacks us, but this time, it just peaced out. Moving much quicker than it should be able to, it flew up and away through the tree. Puzzled, I climbed to the top to see if I could locate it. It had moved to the south and hovered over a cliff. Shooting it grabbed its attention and slowly it made its way back, ignoring Amber and returning to its original location. From here, things played out normally. I've heard stories about something like this happening to players during battles with the Animo or Electro Hypostasis, but this is the first time I've witnessed it. Let's move on to the treasure hoarders. The way these fellows are talked about, you'd think they'd be the type to desecrate the places they loot. And sure, maybe we find scars of such activity in the places we explore, but it's never something we actually see in action. In Koseki village on Seirai Island, however, they were caught red-handed. There's a treasure chest below this place, and they must have caught wind of it, because they were throwing everything they had at trying to get down there. This guy with the shovel had the right idea. Klee was completely ignored, and the enemies could be pushed away by running against them, although they would always wander back towards the building to continue their vandalism. It would seem this tile that can be highlighted with elemental sight was their target. Why they were here, or why they were targeting this tile, no clue. Maybe some sort of broken quest trigger? Only quest that comes to mind around here is Relics of Seirai. Whatever the case, they didn't care that Klee went about her business looting the place or that she, of course, broke into the basement where the treasure awaited. Treasure hoarders are always just loitering and doing nothing, so it's rather refreshing to see them tearing someplace apart in a nod to their title. Water is strange in Genshin Impact, comprised of 3 layers: the surface that we can swim on and also where all the elemental reactions occur, a collision box reaching some depth below the surface which instantly pulls the player to the surface if touched, and then vast emptiness where projectiles are vaporized instantly and loot is teleported to the surface. Should enemies fall into deep water, Hydro Slimes being an exception, they are instantly defeated. Note the word fall, because if they're already below the water, they very much remain alive. Take, for example, the Ruin Guard below Dunyu. It's wandering around down there, trying its best to reach Kaya. Whenever missiles are fired, they instantly explode. All of this is a bit odd and kinda cool on its own, but the neat thing that happens here is that this Ruin Guard doesn't just try to reach Kaya, it actually does. See that? It somehow just jumped from the bottom to the midsection. We're able to lure it over to this gap. Despite being this close to the surface, we're unable to damage it with a plunge attack or ice. Likewise, it cannot hurt us even with its missiles exploding right there. Arrows also don't work, and every so often, the Ruin Guard would attempt a stomp attack. What we can do, however, is lift it out of the water with Starfell Sword. Originally, this was an attempt to get it completely out of the water and out of Dunyu Ruins, but it just stopped moving. Perhaps it knew what came next. We're moving up a model version from Ruin Guard to Ruin Grater. This big fella sits by his lonesome on the northern cliffs of Narukami Island, forever guarding a chest, at least until a plucky traveler decides to loot it. Nothing out of the ordinary? Nope. And nothing odd about Ruin Grater vanishing into thin air? There is a loading zone near the cliff here. Crossing it instantly unloads the Ruin Grater. Unexpectedly, however, is that recrossing it loads the Ruin Grater in exactly where it was before vanishing. Honestly, it's expected that it would be inactive by the treasure chest once more. But then this loading zone isn't only for the Ruin Grater. The treasure chest, and even the puzzle over there, both vanish, too. I decided to use this to push the Ruin Grater off the cliff. How? Basically, we can use this loading zone to continually interrupt the Ruin Grater's action, forcing it to only be able to move forward. Cross into the loading zone, let it take one step forward, dash out of the loading zone, repeat again and again, and once near the cliff, force it off with the Geo-Traveler. What this achieves is getting the Ruin Grater stuck down there. It's possible to loop its fall by quickly crossing over the loading zone a few times. This is neat and all, but it doesn't do much but walk up against the wall down there. And it still vanishes if we cross the zone, despite now being on the other side. And once the hilly trails get into the mix, the Ruin Grater respawns back at the chest, although it remains up and about. This is where it got weird. For the next few minutes, the Ruin Grater couldn't detect me, even if I got really close. I was able to enter photo mode, pose, just about anything. I guess, if we're being honest, though, this one is more me breaking the game rather than it breaking itself. Anyways, got any tales of enemies doing strange things? Or perhaps of the game bugging out on you? Would love to read them in the comments. The game doesn't break itself often enough for my liking, and I'm always looking to see what other crazy things can happen in it. I mean, once I saw that one Reddit post about Skyfrost Nail appearing in Mondstadt, well, can't really say sky's the limit, because we've already covered the sky, too. This is Moosashi, signing off. Till next time.